Jewish marriage took place in 3 phases, often over a long period of time. When a couple was still young, an engagement was established. Sometimes this engagement was arranged by the parents or nearest relatives. A price for the bride or a dowry would be negotiated between the groom-to-be and the father of the bride. The 2 men would sometimes seal the agreements with a toast of wine, and a written contract, or ketubah, would be signed to memorialize the dowry and terms of marriage. The ketubah might also list items such as the time, place, and size of the wedding. Upon signing the ketubah, the bride and groom were legally betrothed. In the eyes of the community, the couple was legally married, but they weren't allowed to live together until the completion of Stage 2. Stage 2 could last a number of years. This was the betrothal period, where the bride would live at her parents' home and the groom would come for chaperoned visits. The groom would also spend his time preparing their future home and work to earn the dowry if needed. History tells us that this period could last a number of years. This is the stage of marriage that applied to Mary and Joseph. The Gospels tell us that Mary was espoused to Joseph when she got miraculously pregnant with Jesus. After the groom was able to raise the money set out in the ketubah, he would notify the father of the bride and then set a date for the consummation of the marriage. At the agreed time, the groom would arrive with the dowry and his groomsmen, and the bride would be waiting with her bridesmaids. Then she would be ritually bathed and adorned in special clothing, including a thick veil. Once a special ritual was completed, the thick veil was removed and it would be off to Stage 3, the wedding feast.
On our continuing Lenten journey with our Savior, we find ourselves with his disciples at a wedding at Cana. From John chapter 2. On the 3rd day, a wedding took place at Cana in Galilee. Jesus' mother was there, and Jesus and his disciples had also been invited to the wedding. When the wine was gone, Jesus' mother said to him, "They have no more wine." "Woman, why do you involve me?" Jesus replied. "My hour has not yet come." His mother said to the servants, "Do whatever he tells you." Nearby stood 6 stone water jars, the kind used by the Jews for ceremonial washing, each holding from 20 to 30 gallons. Jesus said to the servants, "Fill the jars with water," and they filled them to the brim. Then he told them, "Now draw some out and take it to the master of the banquet." They did so, and the master of the banquet tasted the water that had been turned into wine. He did not realize where it had come from, though the servants who had drawn the water knew. Then he called the bridegroom aside and said, "Everyone brings out the choice wine first, and then the cheaper wine after the guests have had too much to drink. But you have saved the best till now." What Jesus did here in Cana of Galilee was the first of the signs through which he revealed his glory, and his disciples believed in him. After this, he went down to Capernaum with his mother and brothers and his disciples. There they stayed for a few days. Weddings have been a celebration for families and friends for generations. Jesus and the disciples were guests at the wedding banquet. Weddings were week-long festivals. A week would be spent celebrating the new life of the married couple. Often the whole town would be invited and everybody would come. It was considered an insult to refuse an invitation to the wedding. So here they were, days into the celebration. Then something happened. The wine supply ran out during the midst of the eating and drinking festivities. The response that Jesus gave his mother when she told them they have no more wine sounded somewhat straightforward. Why do you involve me? Is that any of our business, mother? Woman, that is not our problem. Then he tells her, my hour has not yet come. This isn't my time. Don't push me. It wasn't the only time that he talked about his time. We see that a number of different occasions. John 7, the right time for me has not yet come. John 12, the time has come for the Son of Man to receive his glory. Matthew 26, the chosen time is near. Mark 14, the time has come for the Son of Man to be handed over to sinful people. John 17, he looked toward heaven and prayed, Father, the time has come. What do those statements imply? A schedule. The mission of Christ was planned. Jesus was on a mission to save the world, the greatest mission in the history of humankind. Yet he took time to attend a wedding and take part in the festivities. And this is where his first miracle would take place. What is it? Don't be quick to say, well, of course, it was turning water into wine, because there's more than just a Sunday school story here. All the stores are closed, so Jesus, at his mother's urging, transforms 6 jugs of water into 6 jugs of wine. Impressive. She knew he could do it. That's it, right? Well, I think there's more to this miracle. A wedding often began with a sundown ceremony at a synagogue, and people would then leave and begin a long candlelight procession through the city, winding their way so that the couple could be escorted past the homes of as many townspeople as possible, so everyone could wish them well. And then people would follow. Here's the problem that they faced. To accommodate all those people, many people, careful planning was needed. And to run out of wine was more than embarrassing. It broke the strong, unwritten laws of hospitality. Hospitality at a wedding was a sacred duty. Without wine, said the rabbis, there is no joy. Wine was crucial, not for drunkenness. That was considered a disgrace. But wine was crucial for what it demonstrated. The presence of wine stated that this was a special day and that all the guests were special guests to help the family honor this lifelong union. So Mary inserts herself to attempt to save the day. Jesus, however, had a bigger plan of salvation in mind. Not saving a celebration, but saving the world. At first, it appears he's going to stay with that plan. But as he looks into the faces of the wedding party, he feels compassion, or concern for the family. Is this getting in the way of God's plan of salvation? This is the bigger concern, solving world problems like death and disease and hunger and sin. That's when it would appear that God cares. When he's working on a big scale, on major problems like that, right? Or is it? What about smaller things? Personal things, like when a boy strikes out in a baseball game, or when your boss doesn't seem to notice how hard you worked on that project, or when you can't find your keys or your cat. Seriously, do late flights and toothaches or internet outages matter to God? He has a universe to run. And there is the miracle. Does God care about the little things in our lives? You better believe it. It matters. If it matters to you, it matters to him. Why? Because of this promise that is found in the Bible. The Father has loved us so much that we are called children of God, and we really are his children. And because you are God's child, if it's important to you, it's important to God. Why did Jesus change the water to wine? To impress the crowd? No, they didn't even know he did it. To get the wedding master's attention? No, he thought the groom was just being generous. Why did Jesus do it? What motivated his first miracle? There were people who were embarrassed. And what bothered them bothered him. Yes, Jesus had a plan. It was a plan that changes eternity for all of us. It changes the world forever. It matters. It was completely different than anything anyone had ever seen or thought about God. It was about God's grace. Not world problems, but individual problems like sin, like guilt, like disobedience. Do you know why? Because those are what would keep you separated from him for all eternity if your Savior didn't make a way to remove your separation. Jesus did what no religion could do. But to help you see that Jesus isn't just concerned about world-sized theological concerns, he shows up at your family weddings. And by the side of the road after your accident or your mechanical failure, and when you walk down the steps onto the sidewalk after you just endured being bullied for the last 10 minutes on the school bus, and when that COVID test comes back positive, and when you get a splinter under your fingernail, it matters. It really does. The same Savior who hung from the cross to earn your forgiveness is the Savior who shows up at family weddings. So go ahead. Tell God about your embarrassment. Talk to him. He won't turn you away. You can come before God's throne where there is grace. God is ready to use his power in your life today. And Jesus wants to draw you closer to himself, even if it takes the miraculous to get your attention. It's interesting to look at how this story, this first miracle, concludes. What Jesus did here in Cana of Galilee was the first of the signs through which he revealed his glory, and his disciples believed in him. And there was so much more that the disciples and you and I will discover on our journey with our Savior. Our biblical blessing from Hebrews chapter 4. Let us then approach God's throne of grace with confidence, so that we may receive mercy and find grace to help us in our time of need.
I believe you are able. I believe you are good. I believe you are with me even now. I believe you are greater than every mountain that I face. I believe you will supply all I need. You're all I need. Till the ocean